My topic is overpopulation, and at the end of October 2011, the population surpassed 7 billion, and every day the population gains roughly 250,000 people. Combined, China, India, and the U.S. has the biggest population with over 2 billion people. In this argument, I will discuss overpopulation's contribution to global warming, how it negatively affects the economy, and its contributions to the extinction of wildlife. I will start with overpopulation's contributions to global warming. As the world's population grows unsustainably, so do its unyielding demands for natural resources. The world's population doubled from 1 to 2 billion between 1800 and 1930, and doubled again in 1975. With this increase in population, human demand began outstripping what the planet could renewably produce, a gap known as ecological overshoot. According to the Global Footprint Network calculations, it would take 1.3 to 1.5 planets to sustain support at the rate we are using Earth's resources. A 2009 study by Paul A. Murtaugh and Michael Schlack of Oregon State University of the relationship between population growth and global warming determined that the carbon legacy of just one child can produce 20 times more greenhouse gases than a person will save by recycling, using energy-efficient appliances and light bulbs, and even by driving a high-mileage vehicle. But my next point is that overpopulation negatively affects the global economy. Countries facing exploding populations will encounter problems in terms of migration, poverty, food security, water management, and climate change. The world population is expected to grow an additional 2 to 3 billion people in the next 50 years. Water usage is expected to increase by 50% in developing nations and 18% in developed nations between 2007 and 2025. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, food production will have to increase by 70% to accommodate the growth in population. To do so, research, development, and expansion of agriculture are critical. To put this more clearly, as the population increases, more money will be needed to accommodate the human species. Overpopulation also contributes to the extinction of wildlife. With an increase in population, natural habitats are being torn down to accommodate the demand for cities, housing developments, and new farms. 50% of the planet's landmass has been transformed for human use. The current mass extinction differs from all others, being that it is caused by a single species rather than a planetary or galactic physical process. We are now facing a sixth extinction, which is a human-caused event due to transformation of the landscape, the introduction of alien species, and the over-exploitation of the species. Humans are responsible for 500 extinctions in recent history and over 1,000 over the course of our existence. The overpopulation of the human species is causing many problems on our home planet, our economy, and the specimens that also call home. What happens when the planet is completely overpopulated? Will we become a victim of our own bad habits? Will the unnatural hunter become the unnatural prey? I state once again that overpopulation of the human species negatively affects the environment and the economy.
Well, I'm glad that you came back to the proposition at the end of the speech because I didn't think it was very clear at the beginning. As I'm listening to it at the end, it's got two parts to it. At the beginning, I didn't really hear it. I did hear the preview of what the supporting points were going to be. I knew the subject was overpopulation, but I didn't know what the inference was that you were drawing on this. I knew generally it had to have something to do with overpopulation being harmful or dangerous in some way. At the end, you do tell us what the proposition is, and like I said, it's got two parts to it rather than a singular part, so you need to rephrase that. A good preview of what the supporting points were going to be. I knew how things were going to be structured. It did feel a little bit like you covered material on points 1 and 2 together, and some of that material information seemed to run together. There are a lot of big inferences on the food issue. I think you need to develop that a little bit more. You've got a pretty big argument here talking about the end of the world, from global warming, from food and water resource starvation, from species and area land mass disappearing and all those kinds of things, and you're shoving it into a 4-minute window, which means that a lot of stuff is getting presented in a very conclusionary way, and I think you need a little bit more explanation on some of these points, and on some of the points you need a lot more data. You've got these very vivid descriptions by scholars talking about what the impact is going to be, but I think we could use some practical examples, and there was maybe one statistical estimate on water usage, and other than that, I didn't really hear a lot of reference to the practical impact on the environment. I guess I did hear the one statistic that said a single birth, outweighs all of the advantages that come from doing all these other kinds of things. That's a global warming issue, I guess, and so it kind of fits in with that one point. But the follow-up on the food issues, for instance, and on the species issues, they didn't have any of the data like that. Like I said, I did appreciate the summary. I felt a little bit like things were being rushed a bit. All right. Thank you.